How's it going, everybody? This is always back with another StencilJS video. So this video is going to be for people who are going to use Stencil for building reusable component library and want to integrate those components in various frameworks like Angular or Vue or React. If you're not sure about what Stencil is a library for building reusable, scalable component, and it's also very fast because it follows the open web standards for building web components. So if you are new to Stencil, I will paste a video link for the course that I did on Stencil on my YouTube channel. Okay, so what we're going to be learning in this video, we're going to be obviously creating a Stencil project. And after we have a Stencil project, we are going to convert that into Stencil Workspace, where we have different packages like Angular wrapper, React wrapper. How do we use those component library in a plain HTML, and also with Vue JS integration. There will be some benefits of creating these wrappers instead of just using those web components in plain HTML or any other framework. So this video will give you a full guide of how to set up StencilJS project for building reusable component library, and also configure it in a way where it is easy to build, publish, and also integrate with various frameworks. The good thing is source code will be available on my GitHub account. So if you go ahead and then fork the source code, please give it a star. At least that's what you can do. Next, I will paste a link of the Stencil crash course that I did on my YouTube channel. You can copy this link, maybe not, but you can copy this from a description of this video. All right, we also provide web and mobile development services. So if you're building some mobile app and you need help with that or website, you can contact me on this email. Okay, so let's get started with the video. Let's create a stencil workspace using Lerna. So here I've got this empty folder. I'm going to take you to Lerna documentation. So in the getting started guide, we got this command Lerna init command, and we can also do the dry run there. This will create a Lerna workspace and give you lerna.json file, a package.json file with automatically configured these packages. And we got the latest version, this 6.6.2, and then you got a git ignore and a packages folder. Next, we're going to create a stencil project, and I will put that into packages folder as well. So the command to create a stencil project would be just go to getting started guide of stencil, and you will find a getting started guide and say npm init stencil. Okay, so we go back to IntelliJ, and I'm gonna just go inside the packages folder. First of all, let's go to packages folder and run this command. Once you run this command, it's gonna ask you if you want to install Stencil, create Stencil. Then we can select either it's gonna be Ionic PVA app or component. I'll select the component. I'll just say Stencil core. We just name it stencil and we'll just name yes. Okay, so you'll see now we'll have another folder here, stencil, right? It has all its own configuration. Now we're going to be creating another Angular specific wrapper, React, and then the Vue. First of all, let's set up some scripts for stencil core, or just name it stencil. So how do we run this with Lerna? Well, if you look at, we can go to package.json file, and here we have some scripts, a build, start, test watch. So here we got a build script, which will be triggered by Lerna, but we need a couple more packages for that. Next, within packages, we're going to create Angular Workspace. To create Angular Workspace, you either need to install globally Angular CLI, or you could use npx. So what I'll do, I'll use npm install add angular/CLI. So this is going to be a global install of Angular CLI, so I could use ng new command, which is the way to create a new workspace. And we also want to create a workspace without any application to start with, because we're basically creating an Angular wrapper for stencil components. So now I'll use ng new, and then we will just create an Angular application, and then we can name it create application to false. And it says to, would you like to enable auto completion? Yes, we can do that. Would you like to share anonymous data? No, I don't want to do that. And now it's creating an Angular workspace without the actual application. We got angular.json, but we don't have any application. So next we can go ahead and then create an Angular library within this workspace. So here it says new projects root would be project, but I'll change that to, let's say, libs. Now let's go and create right click, and I will use the IntelliJ IDEA to help me create a library. So now it's gonna ask me to install the semantics. So we'll just wait for this npm install to complete. Next, let's go to Angular, and I'm gonna create Angular semantics, and I'll create a library. So we would like to create a library. Well, not really. It's not letting me do that. So what I will do is use just a CLI. So we'll go inside this Angular folder, and I'll say ngg and library. And it's gonna ask me what is the name of your library. So we'll just say stencil Angular stencil. I would like to use the stencil wrapper name. I don't know. You can go ahead and then change the names of your library later if you want to. But now you see we got angular.json filled with lots of information. Here we got the stencil wrapper. And if you look at this, we got the stencil wrapper. Before we move forward, we're going to go set up some scripts for building this Angular wrapper. So what I'll do, go to this main Angular workspace, and then here we got this build command. What I like to do is create ng build stencil wrapper. Okay, so this will basically be triggered by Lerna. So all the build commands we can run in one go. So that's why I just named it build. Next, we're going to set up TypeScript because we really need TypeScript at the root level to do some tasks. For example, the TypeScript configuration at the root level is supposed to be there. So what I'll do is open terminal, and I'm going to install TypeScript and type notes and then save that at the root level. So the command would be npm install TypeScript. The latest version is fine. Save that flag will save that into the workspace right here. So once that's done, then you will see we'll have new packages in the dev dependency. Okay, so we got TypeScript and type nodes, so which is good. Now we need to create a tsconfig file at the root level. I'll add that to the repository and paste some code here. So basically here we have this root level TypeScript configuration that will be extended by other projects as well. So that's your TypeScript configuration. Now we're going to create a React wrapper. So I'll use this Lerna create command, and we'll just name it React library, or just say React, for example. Now, once you have that React done, just press enter for all of the files. Then you'll see you got this React here. We got a package.json and then a library. I'm going to change this name. Let's say rename this to index.ts. Okay, because it's going to be a TypeScript file. Next, in the terminal, I will navigate to this React library, and I'm going to paste this command. So basically I'm installing React DOM, TypeScript, and then React types. And all it's gonna go into the dependency of the package.json. Okay, so we got all the dependencies installed. Now we need a tsconfig file. So I'll just go ahead and create a new TypeScript config file, config.json, and I would like to just copy the code here. So what it's gonna do, it has a compiler options where it's gonna just build it with a dist with ES5, and then you got this JSX, and then the types will be declared here. It's gonna include the library and exclude the node modules folder from the build. So that's good. So we got this index.ts file now, and I'm gonna create a new folder here. I'm gonna name it components. Okay, and then here we'll be generating all of our stencil components. Now at this stage we are in a good shape. A couple of things we need to change here. So if you look at the package.json file, in package.json file we need to define the main file, the module file, and a type definitions, and we can also do the directories as well. So we'll just copy some of the code from here, and I'm gonna just paste that here. We already have a directory, so let's forget it. Types, we need them. We already have files. And then instead of this lib slash index.ts file, we're gonna have this main this slash index.js file. Module will be this one. Types, let's go this types index.types.ts file. Okay, so at this stage we have pretty much everything that is going to go. Oh yeah, files, we need to actually remove the lib and add a dist. Okay, because when we build this, it is going to build a dist folder for us. That's where we're going to be published. So next thing, we need to set up some scripts for us. So I will basically copy those scripts here, and all they're doing is like just building the types. If you want to do a watch mode, you can do watch mode, and then the TS with this configuration. Stencil components are used with the plain HTML, CSS, JavaScript as well, because they are pretty much web components. So to do the sample for integration, I'll just create a library called DOM, and within this we'll just create a simple HTML file. I'll just name it index.html file. We'll just add that to the repository as well, and in here I would like to just copy a code and then paste it here, and I'll talk about it. So what it's doing here we got this my component that is WebStorm or IntelliJ is going to give you an error because it doesn't know yet about that folder. So don't worry about this for now. We have a script tag. We type that as a module, right? And let me just zoom in a bit. And then within the scripts, we are importing defined custom elements from this path, and we're running this defined custom element. So when this script runs, then the HTML will know about these custom elements. So for now, let's leave them here. And next, we're going to be setting up Vue JS. Let's create a new Lerna package. So Lerna create Vue. That will create a new package for us. Let's just go with the default values, and we got this Vue folder. And in package.json, I would like to navigate to packages and Vue.js, and then within this we will install Vue, and then we can say, let's say latest, or I think it's Vue 3, so 3, and then we can save that as a dev dependency. Once we have that, again, the learner doesn't create a TypeScript configuration. So what I'll do is create a new TypeScript config file, ts config.json file, and I'm just going to copy a few things from here and then paste it here. So all it's doing is just defining some values, including the lib and excluding the node modules, and then also extending the root TypeScript configuration, which will allow us to do a linking within this workspace. So that's with Vue.js. Next, we're gonna go and edit some scripts here. First of all, the main file, which is targeting this lib.vue.js, we will just rename that to, let's say, index, and change this to the dist folder. Also, we're going to specify types, and that path would be dist slash index.d.ts file. Now again, we need to install some dev dependency as well for TypeScript and Node. So right now we don't have any dependency, so I will be able to, run the npm install command to install TypeScript, and then we need at type slash node install that. Oops, I need to install it as save dev dependency. And we are going to mark some of the configuration, like, public access to, we're going to name this as public. And then some of the scripts that we need to set up, like we did in the React, we'll just grab those and then paste them here. The trailing comma there, so let's remove that as well. To be able to work with Vue, we need to create a couple of files. So I'll just create a new file. That would be plugin.ts file. We'll add that here. And I'm going to add another file, which is going to be components.ts file. And then we will have a library of our Vue components, which will be generated by Stencil automatically. But in the index.js file, in index.ts file, we need to export everything from components. At this stage, we got all 4 wrappers ready, but there's definitely some configuration that we need to do to be able to make it work. So first, let's get to Stencil. And in Stencil, we will write some configuration and a code to first make sure that we have some components, and then in the Stencil config file, there's a lot of configuration that I have to, install to be able to work with these wrappers. But for now, if we go to Stencil folder, and then within these components, we only got one component called my component. So I'll go to this package.json file, and within this packages file, we can run this start script. You can go to terminal or just click on this play button if you're using IntelliJ IDEA. I'm going to run the start script, and on the side you can see we have a project running. It says, "Hello, I'm Stencil, don't call me JS framework." So basically this is the component that we have in a Stencil folder. Let me make a little bit more space here and just do it this way. Okay, so index.html file, if you look at this my component, now basically this component is being loaded from the build stencil esmjs and then this js folder, which is in the dist folder now. So if I go and change this to, let's say, hello world, you'll see that the stencil component is being rendered. Now, obviously, this is not the video for learning Stencil. I've done the video already, and you can check out the link in the description of this video if you want to learn Stencil. Now, next thing is to make sure that everything else is being built properly. Now, I can go and run the build command in each of the package, but that's way too much of a work. So to do that, I basically set up Lerna, and that's what I'm gonna do. So what Lerna does for us is, if you go to, let's say, terminal in the root of your space, you can run npm run build. So this is going to run this build command, which is going to be run Lerna run build. Let me just start the screen brush. Okay, so now we can zoom in a bit. Let me zoom out a little bit and then zoom back in here like that. Okay, it's better. Okay, so this command learner run build dash dash concurrency for, this is basically a learner command that will go and find the build script in each of the package and execute those. So to demonstrate that, let me just zoom into the terminal. I will do npm run build, and now you see it is running. Vue build was successful, React build was successful, Stencil build was successful, but there was problem with the Angular build, which we're going to fix because this is just a plain Angular wrapper. We need to do some configuration here to be able to, work with it. Before we can build our stencil components for Angular wrapper, I want to talk a little bit about the scoping of the packages, because Angular, React, and Vue, if you're using these component wrappers, then you will be using into a main Angular or React or Vue.js application, right? Built from the stencil. So we need to really publish those to npm repositories, and on for local linking, it is always best to, name your packages with properly scoped. So what I'll do is I'll go to package.json file, and this package will just say at workspace slash stencil. Now you should be naming this workspace to, according to your NPN account or whatever the organization you're working for should be scoped by that, not just workspace dash stencil. So this is like, I don't want to go into detail with the explanation here because you should be able to understand all this if you're watching this video. So yeah, I'm gonna just scope my packages. So we can just copy this, and I'm going to go to Angular package.json, and we'll just replace it with Angular. And then I will go to, let's say, React, and in the React I'm going to scope it with React. Okay, and then we got Vue.js. Let's go open that one too, and we will update this as well. Okay, so now we have scoped packages. Now to be able to use these wrappers for, local development, you can basically add a path. So I'll show you in a second. Actually, let's do this now. So if you go to the main TypeScript file, here you need to specify these paths. So what they're doing is basically, it's telling if you ever, target any package with this workspace stencil, that's supposed to go into this folder. You need to loader as well for stencil, so specifying the paths makes it easy for local development. So make sure you add those there. Okay, so let's go to stencil now, and we are going to be, configuring some of the wrappers now, which will basically make us available for us to use all these wrappers. Start by installing a package that is required for stencil integration with Angular. So I will do npm install, and the package name is stencil/angular output target. Just install that package in, make sure that you navigate into this stencil folder. Okay, once the package is installed, then we're gonna go to stencil config file. In this file, we are going to import the target. So import from stencil angular output, and the function name would be angular output target. That's the one. And then here we need to add some configuration for stencil. First of all, let's get rid of this custom elements. You don't need that. You don't need docs. For the dist, it's fine. And then you go to Angular. That's a function, takes an object, and then you need to specify the component core package first. So we'll start with component core package, and we are going to name this the same as the package.json file. So at workspace slash stencil. Okay, and then we need to specify the proxy file and the array file. So what I'm gonna do basically just gonna define those into one of the folder that Angular wrapper has. So first of all, the reactive array file, actually proxy file, and then we need to specify its path, and then the reactive array file, and then its path. Okay, so the path for both would be, a component and an index. So we're gonna name this as, let's just say, go to Angular, and then here we got lib stencil wrapper, and then go source lib, and this is where I want to basically create these files. So just copy the path. So let's just say this is gonna be the path for both. That's the path, and then we're going to just name this file as, let's just say, proxy.ts, and then we can just say index.ts. This one is fine. Yeah, that's fine. So I want to make sure that this actually targets the outer folder. So we need to use, like, binding this. So this way, what it's gonna do is gonna go to one folder above, and then another folder above, then start from there. So let's this. Okay. Once you have that running, then we go to Angular wrapper, and then within Angular wrapper, I'm gonna go into, so that's the lib, that's the stencil wrapper. Okay. In the source file, we'll go to lib, and I would like to actually modify some code here. So here's our stencil wrapper module file, and pretty much that's what we need. Other than that, we just get rid of pretty much all of the files. We don't need none of this. Okay, and that's the wrapper, and then just get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of that. Now let's go back to package.json file within this stencil folder. And from here, I will run stencil build command, and let's see what happens. So once the build is successful, there you go. The build was actually successful. Now we have the build directories there, like in Stencil, like this folder, loader folder, and www folder. But also, if you go take a look at Angular, you can see here we got source lib, and we have this Angular component lib. It generated automatically an index and proxy file. So what I'm gonna do here is we are going to import pretty much everything from this index.file, and then also we're going to import we're gonna import and export actually. So let's just say dot directives, and then dot directives. Okay, at this stage, basically we are exporting, importing and exporting. My bad. That's gonna go into the directives, not the imports. Okay, so that's pretty much it that you need to do here. And then if you look at your proxy file, it's basically will be available in Angular. So in the public folder, what we need to do is, let me just copy the code so this saves a bit of time. We need to pretty much export everything. So if I just paste that here, so we got this directives, which are going to be just from the lib, and then this is going to be the module, and then again the stencil generated components, just, it's going to be proxy.ts file, and that's pretty much it that you need to make sure that, Angular has everything. So now if I go to this Angular package.json, another thing I would like to do is basically add a dependency, which is going to be, dependency on the stencil core. So what we can do here is just type add workspace slash stencil, and then it's going to either take the file dot and then it's going to go into stencil. Okay, you can do this way, or you can actually go ahead and then, for example, if I click here, you see it's gonna go ahead and install the stencil for us from the workspace. So that's good. Or you can go stencil and then add a static, then it's just gonna use the import path. So that's what the Angular dependency is done. Now if I go to, let's say, the build command for Lerna, so we do Lerna run build, and let's see if, you know, Stencil gets built and Angular gets built as well. So right now Stencil is not built. There's a problem in a Stencil because this component files just get overridden. So what we'll do is we'll just go to package.json, and I'm going to just rename this file for now. Okay, and then we do run build. Now it's going to run only two Angular build, React build, and a Vue build. So you see that, you know, Angular wrapper is basically ready. So if you go ahead and then publish this to npm and you know, with the name add workspace Angular, if you install it in Angular application, you should be able to just import the modules and the components from there. And we'll take a look at that in a second. So same goes for React and then the Vue JS as well. I will basically go ahead and then copy, where is it? No, React. Actually, no. We need to go to package.json, and I would like to just copy those dependencies straight from my sample. So if we go to now core, which is your stencil, and package.json, just after this install React and the Vue wrapper as well. And I'm going to just run npm install. Once those are installed, then I'm just going to grab the configuration, which is going to be pretty much the same, but you know, saves time. So we go to stencil config, and in here add a comma and then add this React output target and then the Vue output target. Now I know they're not installed yet, so if we go to, let's me close some files to make it clear. Okay, that's Angular and that's Stencil Core, so you have installed those. Now this should just be available for us to import now. So I will just copy the imports as well for them. So once their import is done, we need to modify their path to, let's say, workspace to, that's going to be core package, which is stencil, and here workspace stencil. And then the same way, we are just going to generate this file, and the path would go from React lib component stencil generated and index.ts file. That's your proxy file. One thing we need to modify here is, okay, and then for the view, that's it. So once you have, now if I go to stencil, I'm just gonna delete a couple of folders here, and especially the component.d folder that causes an issue, and then we go to Lerna run build command, but make sure that we go to package.json for this and just remove that build as well. So this way, this will run like all four builds. So if I run this now, you'll see it will run React Stencil build as well. It shouldn't fail this time. And Angular build is there. So all four are basically building now. So basically, whatever the component that you had here is basically ready to be used. Now let's just go ahead and then I'll give you a quick demo on how do you use this in let's just say React. Okay, So what I'll do, I'll just go here and I'm going to create a new React project. Let's take a look at how do we add this into this file. So basically the DOM needs to go to Stencil, this loader folder. So this is going to be Stencil. And once you do this, go to your Stencil folder, go to loader, and then this is the file you're going to be loading, index.es 2017.js. Okay, and then it is basically now ready to use this component. So if I run this in Chrome, you see we have the component being rendered. And this is like, a static HTML file. And if I go ahead and then change this to, let's say, hello, you see it changes straight away. So which is good. So you see that your stencil components are now being um, built from stencil and using DOM. Let's go and modify this stencil component itself. So if I go to components and then go to TypeScript file, here we have this middle property as well. Right now we're not using any middle property. So what I'll do is, let's just say, I'll just name it first. And then we can use middle property. You see that, it's giving you IntelliSense. I'm not sure if VS Code will do that for you, but let's just say middle, and then you go last. And there you go. You see that hello world, I'm first, middle, last. So that's one proof that you can use this in a DOM. I'm going to close this, and then we'll do Angular. So within Angular Workspace, let's just say here, I'm going to open a terminal, or actually I can generate an application. It's not going to allow me because it's an Angular Workspace. So we'll just open this in terminal, and we can say ngg application, and we can name this Angular dev, and we don't need routing, we just need a CSS. Okay, so now I'm going to use this lib, stencil wrapper lib, within Angular dev. Okay, and the way I can use this, making sure that my TypeScript configuration is properly done. So you see this here in the Angular workspace, we have this stencil wrapper. Now I will go ahead and then in this file, we would like to import the custom elements, and then we also need to apply the polyfills. So if I start typing import, and then we will import from add workspace stencil, right? And this configuration is coming from the root level TypeScript configuration. Okay, so that makes it easy now. So now apply polyfill. Actually, we need to load it from loader. Okay, not from the core package. We need to apply polyfill and define custom elements. And from here, we can just say apply polyfills dot then, and then from here, once the polyfill is applied, then I can basically define custom element on window object. Okay, once you've done this, then next you need to go to your app component module folder. Let's go into app component module folder, and here you see we need to basically import that library. So if I go into the module, let's go to, and then I'm going to use this stencil core, yeah. So stencil wrapper module, which is going to come from this stencil wrapper, which is your basically this library here. But let's just say if you want to, use from the actual wrapper path, what you could do is in the TypeScript main file, you see that you have stencil component, oh sorry, workspace Angular. This is going into Angular dist blah blah blah. But what we can do here is, you see, dist slash, not Angular component, but let's just say Angular, no, stencil dash wrapper. Okay, that's the folder. So in packages, in Angular, we go inside dist folder, then stencil wrapper. Okay, and that's the wrapper we want to use. So what we can do now is, instead of importing it from here, I can just go ahead and then say add workspace slash Angular, and this will be not be okay, because you need to actually reference that in your package.json. So for a local development, this is fine. But when you publish the package, then you should be able to use this with Angular, Workspace at Angular. Okay, so now we can basically go into our libs Angular dev and then go to app component file, and I am going to collapse everything, and I'm going to go into content, and where the resources are, I'm going to use just my component from here, and we can call it first. This is the first name, and then middle to be middle name, and then we can do last to be last name. Okay, there's no need for a comma, so what I'll do is close it. Okay, and now let's go ahead and then maybe run this. So if I go to, let's just say, this package.json, and we need some script, for example, ng-serve, and we can say Angular dev. Let's start the application and see if our component gets rendered in Angular. Okay, so I'll go to localhost 4200. All right, so you see here it says, hello world, I am first name, middle name, and last name. How good is that? So if I go to app component file, I don't really need all of this. So what I can do, just to be clear, I'm just gonna delete everything, and I don't need resources, I don't need this, I don't need this as well. Okay, and for the top, we don't need this rocket icon. I don't know where is it, but anyways, so you see your component is being rendered, and then if we go ahead and change this to, let's say, first, let's say the component first is there, and then in here, if you go ahead and change this to, let's say, hello, there you go, your component is being rendered, and you get to see the intelligence as well. Now you might be wondering, oh, what about the TypeScript? So I'll go into the TypeScript file as well for this. So I'm going to read this title within this component. So in the first, I will use this syntax, and then from here, I'm going to just use title. There you go. And now it says I'm Angular dev, middle name, last name. So if you go to TypeScript file now, and then you go to, let's say, hello, you see that changes as well. So at this stage, we pretty much have, yeah, everything working for Angular. And same goes for Vue and React. When you import these packages, right? And all these packages have this dist configuration done, you should be able to import that module and then just use it directly. Okay. Um, let's actually take a look at the example for React as well, because React is also very famous. So what I'll do here is I'm gonna actually create a new application for the React, and the way I can do is I'm going to open this React folder, actually not React, but the packages folder in terminal, and then I'll just use this wait command to create my React application. and I would like to just name my application as React Dev. Enter, and there should be a React application now. Okay, cool. So now what I'll do is I need to actually go ahead and then run npm install here. Yeah, and we need to stop this Angular server completely. And once the packages are installed, then what we can do is to consume that, React package. So you can go ahead and then say my dependency for this is going to be at workspace / react, and then here either for the local development you can use file / react. Okay, how do I do that in Angular? How I did it in Angular? Let me check quickly. Let me find that out because yeah, so stencil. Okay, so that was the wrapper. We don't need to do that in the React side. So this is not gonna work because you need to specifically install it or link the package for React. So now what I'm gonna do is go to your package.js Typescript configuration and find out where this React sits. So if you look at here is your React. So what we can do is just copy this, and then we can import from here, or we can go into this, and I'm gonna actually wrap this in double quotes, and then we can just for now add a static here. Okay, and what this is gonna do is it's going to ask us to, where to find this, and I'm going to go to tf's config file, and we need to actually extend this. If we don't extend this to the root level, then it's going to be a problem. Or you can go ahead and add the path right here. Okay, so now let's go ahead and then do another npm install. Okay, that's good. And then we'll just run the dev server, and dev server is going to be running on this port. So let's go ahead and run it here. That's good. Now let's go and try our component. So within React, I'm going to go to app component.ts file. And first of all, let's get rid of everything inside the div. And we don't need this as well. And I don't need this hook. No need for this as well. And no need for use state as well. So what we want to import is from our, so let's first type that in, at Workspace React, and we are going to import my component. Okay, and then here we can simply use that my component, and from here we can just say first, it's not going to give you IntelliSense now because it doesn't know where exactly this sits, because Workspace / React, and then the this folder here is could be the problem because we don't have something in the React yet. So let's go back and fix that. I'm gonna go to React package here, and then in the library, in the component lib, you see something happening here. In the main index.html file, you see we don't have the proper, export happening from here. So what we want to do is we want to export everything from, and this is going to be React actually components, and then stencil generated, and you don't need to export this React as well. And then also export this define custom. So from Workspace / stencil / loader, and you can use this define. You need to export that as well. So once that is done, then we can go into React package.json file and just trigger a build. Okay, once you did the build, then if we go now to React library app file, we shouldn't see an error now. But also we need to import let's just say define custom element, and we can import that into main React dev file here, just above here. So if I go ahead and then say import from at workspace React, and that would be our define custom elements, and we need to just use that and say dot then, and we can basically do a console log there. It says React component loaded. Okay, once you do this, then here now if you run your code again, let's just say in the React app, let's go to React dev, and we need to run this dev script. Once that's running, refresh, and it says hello I am. Okay, now basically within your app component now, you can utilize the stencil component, and you see it is giving you the intelligence as well. For example, this first to be the value, let's just say first, and you see it says hello I'm first. You can use middle, and then let's say middle. Cool. So this is the same way you can use the Vue JS as well. And also there's a guide for Vue JS on the official documentation, where I will just paste the link because this video is getting way lengthy. I'm pretty sure you should be able to figure that out. Okay, so thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and give this video a thumbs up. Last thing is this repository I'm going to put in my GitHub account. You can have a look and give it a star if you like. But what's the takeaway from this video is that you have a full framework setup for building custom components using Stencil, and then the configured wrappers for utilizing those components and exporting those for a particular framework like React and Angular. And there are benefits to using these wrappers instead of just directly using the web components in Angular or React, because of the IntelliSense and the lifecycle hooks, and everything will be pretty close to the framework level. All right, thank you so much for watching. Talk to you guys later.